earlier in the week, before we got to the show, I was getting some messages from people. And, of course, me, an intellectual, I'm like, fans messaging me directly? Block. But before I did that, I saw what they were saying. And they were saying, hey, are you guys going to talk about the Twitter files on the show this week? Did you hear about those Twitter files? You going to talk about the Twitter files? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Twitter files. Does it just keep going?
Yeah.
Do you...
How long before they take this thing?
I don't know. I was just about to say, I think it's already played so long now that it's over. Like, if you're on YouTube, you can't even see me anymore.
Shut us down.
Yeah, it's over. So here's the thing about the Twitter files. We don't have time for me to sit here and scroll through the 400 little tweets of, oh, did you see this happen? Did you see this happen? But I wanted to address it because I feel like a lot of people don't have the best takeaways when things like this happen. And the very first thing I want to mention is, and so for people that are not aware, what the Twitter files refers to is Elon Musk decided, I'm going to take some of the internal documents and communications from the previous ownership, specifically related to during the previous election cycle, and a lot to do with the whole Hunter Biden laptop story, and the New York Post broke the big story about Hunter Biden apparently forgot a laptop at a repair shop, and it's just the world's your oyster. It's got your kiddie porn, it's got him doing hookers and blow, it's got, personal communique with corrupt barons in Ukraine. I mean, it's everything that you can imagine, right? And the New York Post breaks the story. And what does Twitter do? They suppress it.
Yeah.
They move it down in the algorithm. They actually, if you remember, they actually deplatformed the Twitter profile of the New York Post for some number of hours or days or whatever. Like, they treated you the way they treat, like you or me.
Like normal people.
Yeah, they treat them like normal people. And so Elon Musk decided, I'm gonna come clean. I'm gonna air out all the dirty laundry because, like what do they say? Like, transparency is the best disinfectant, right? So so he takes a bunch of these files and he gives them to the reporter Matt Taibbi, and he starts kind of disseminating the info and tweeting out like some of the reflections on what he received. And instead of going through line by line, because basically at the end of the day, if you're wondering, well, what did it say? What it said was things we already knew, right?
Yep.
Like, it said things we already knew. I know that some random, bootlicker out there says, well, you couldn't know, you didn't have a source. Well, yeah, but we know, right? Like come on.
Yeah.
We know.
You know.
And so there's evidence of politicians and the White House, which that would be the Trump White House, but they certainly catered a lot more to left-wing politicians than right-wing, where they could send links to tweets to Twitter HQ, and they would just go through deleting them, deleting the account holder, all this stuff. And that's really interesting because something I've talked about on the show before is the concept of a governmentality. A governmentality being that, well, it might be a private business, but they're really working as an extension of the government. So since they're working as an extension of the government, that makes them a governmentality. And a governmentality absolutely can violate your First Amendment rights. Whereas a private company can decide what to platform or not platform. They no longer get that protection when they're working at the behest of the government. So now that you understand what a governmentality is, and we know for a fact Twitter was doing this, then fast forward, you have all these right-wingers, right? You've got all these right-wingers that's saying, oh, here's the smoking gun. We've got them now. What happens next? There was so many. There was Tim Young and Cernovich and Poso and all your typical Fox News pundits and your Ben Shapiro's and your Blaze TVs and your Daily Wires, all these people are all saying, there's the smoking gun. We know that there was collusion. What happens next? Ladies and gentlemen, do you want me to tell you what happens next? Nothing.
Oh,
Nothing happens next. Yeah. This is the same boomerism as the people who say, oh, posterity won't treat the COVID people very well. There's going to be hearings. They're going to subpoena Fauci. We're going to get to the bottom of this. He's going to prison. No, he's not. What? And frankly, what about all human history between mankind and the state has led you to believe that any of that would happen? When has anyone in your lifetime who genuinely negatively affected your life with the power of government ever been held accountable for anything they ever did? Right. Exactly. It hasn't happened. Yep. So it's look, what they did is terrible. And I would love for these people to be held accountable, but they're not going to be. And another thought that I had is particularly on the side of like the COVID stuff. When it comes to the COVID stuff, the biggest excuse that you hear today from mainstream sources is we didn't know. It's the fog of war, right? We didn't know how serious the virus was. We didn't know that masks don't work. We didn't know that the jabs could have unforeseen consequences and heart-related issues. We didn't know. We acted out of our best judgment. You know why that excuse doesn't work? You want to know why that excuse holds absolutely no water whatsoever? Because when you or I don't know something, we got to be cautious, right? But I don't mean cautious as in taking tons of precautions that we force upon others. I mean, we have to make sure we don't overstep ourselves. It's kind of like putting your foot in your mouth, right? You don't want to fire off and then you turn out to be wrong. No. But when they didn't know something, and I put that in air quotation marks because I tend to think that they know. They knew. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They didn't know. The problem is that when they didn't know, they don't err on the side of caution, right? They err on the side of extreme authoritarianism. That's their nature. If you're going to go with your gut instinct when you don't have complete information, we now know, if you didn't already know, you now know what the state is all about. Their gut instinct is extreme authoritarianism. I've talked on this very show about how the word deserve is really heavy. You know, like telling people what they deserve. You ought to get what you deserve. And, you know, we better hope we don't get what we deserve, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, if you've seen our Patreon and PayPal, we pretty much get what we deserve, I think, on the show. So I'm not going to say anything that's going to get me in trouble and deplatformed. But I'm going to let my best friend, Samuel L. Jackson, tell you what these people deserve.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
Guys, we're going to be back with the meme of the week and the viewer mail right after this commercial break. Don't go away.